This morning, we're following Mr. Catch Me If You Can, Edward Snowden. In a word, he's disappeared, we think. He was supposed to leave Russia for Cuba on his way to Ecuador, but he didn't get on the plane. Is he still in Moscow's airport? We think so, but at this point, no one knows anything for sure. Lawmakers here urge Russia to turn him over. They urge Snowden to turn himself in, and so far, no chance of that. Joining us now, an attorney who specializes in national security issues. Mark Zaid is also the executive director of the James Madison Project, a watchdog group that focuses on intelligence gathering and government wrongdoing. Good morning.
Good morning, Carol.
So American lawmakers say Snowden should turn himself in. Let's say he has a change of heart and he does that. He's charged with theft of government property and espionage. What would happen?
Well, he'd be taken over to the Eastern District of Virginia, which is a courthouse right outside of D.C. that's historically been handling many of the espionage cases that we've seen in the last few years and even going further back. And he'll have a fair trial. He's got 3 charges so far. They're very standard. They were certainly expected. He's going to obviously make it difficult for himself by his very candid admissions over the last few weeks that he was obviously responsible for these classified leaks.
I know the cases are different, but we know what happened to Bradley Manning, the Army soldier who handed over thousands of documents to WikiLeaks. He was held in solitary confinement without charge, I think for years. He said he was tortured, and finally he goes to court and he faces life in prison. So I'm sure Snowden has paid attention to that. Why would he turn himself in? Why would he expect to get a fair trial?
Well, Manning, of course, is in the military system. Our military justice system is an excellent system, but it is different from the civilian system. I mean, it's ironic, of course, that there are these concerns that he might be tortured here when he's actually moving back and forth into countries who the United Nations has held at times to actually conduct torture against dissidents and the others. So there is a sense of irony there. And look, we have one of the best criminal justice systems in the world, especially for those where the case is strong against them. There are so many protections. Snowden will have various avenues and legal defenses. Like I said, it will be a difficult case. But if, in fact, he wants to be, as he seems to portray himself, to be sort of this martyr and this individual who wants to disclose information, one of the best ways he can do it is to come back for trial and have a pedestal or a podium to speak from.
Don't you think he's kind of having fun with this? I mean, the United States has now revoked his passport. They've urged Russia to turn him over, and Russia's not done that so far. They urged Hong Kong and China to turn him over, and China just said, oh, bye, Mr. Snowden. You can go ahead and fly onto Russia. It's okay. Representative Peter King just came out and said, where's the president in all of this? Why can't we catch this one guy? We know where he is.
Well, look, it's a very difficult situation. Extradition is all about politics. Politics in all of these different countries, and there's a lot of manipulation and banter that's going on between our various countries. Now, it's interesting that actually this could have all been avoided if Mr. Snowden had just gone to certain members of Congress, particularly in the Senate, like Senator Wyden or Senator Paul, and disclosed all the information to them.
But we've heard from other whistleblowers who said they went that route and they were punished for it. And I'm sure Edward Snowden heard about them, too.
Well, the difference is that if he had disclosed the information to certain senators who have obviously made it very clear that they're concerned about this program and, in fact, have somewhat applauded Edward Snowden, that they could have taken that information and read it into the congressional record from the Senate floor, and they would have been protected by the speech and debate clause for operating on legislative activities and been immune. That way, Mr. Snowden wouldn't have been in trouble, the senators wouldn't have been in trouble, the public would know the same information, we could have the debate we're having today, and there wouldn't be any concern of prosecution. That happened in the Pentagon Papers case 40 years ago. The question is, I would ask to some of the senators, if they're that concerned about whistleblowers who have classified information, I've got a number of clients I can bring up there today to disclose information to them.
Okay, but all in all, hasn't this just become embarrassing for the United States? It's just embarrassing now, isn't it?
Well, look, from a foreign policy standpoint, there's no question that Ecuador, Russia, China, they're enjoying this. These are pokes in the eye to the United States, the United Kingdom, some other countries with Mr. Assange, with Sweden as well, since Ecuador is giving him shelter in their embassy in London. And we're going to see that. Cuba as well, obviously. And that's why I say it's a political issue. It can change on a dime. So even if Mr. Snowden goes to whether Ecuador or Cuba and gets asylum, as our relations with those countries improves over a period of time, we may very well see Mr. Snowden being handed over.
We'll see. National Security Attorney Mark Zaid, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Carol.
Still ahead in the newsroom, how LeBron James spends his time off the court during the playoffs.